Good morning. This is Jason Moss of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance and Manufacturing News Network. It is March 31st. We're wrapping up the quarter, wrapping up the first quarter of the year, and we got some exciting information that we're going to be sharing with you. We got two great speakers lined up that is going to be giving some insights on what's going on as a manufacturer and how they're dealing with some of the coronavirus and their impact on their business, but also from a operations standpoint as well. So the two folks we got online with us is Ray Marcel. Ray Marcel is he is the president of E2E Resources, been a great friend, great partner, sponsor of GMA for way back from early on when we first kind of got this thing kicked off. And he's been a great valuable friend for GMA and our members, and he's going to bring some kind of insights from the financial perspective, dealing with HR for businesses. He's been doing a lot of research, and he'll be relaying that information throughout the day as well. And then Bart Freeman. And Bart is the vice president of HR for Daniel Defense. And I know Bart is kind of pushed up to a couple other calls that are going to be coming in and out. He said, his day is pretty fluid, as you might imagine. So what we're going to do is kind of pick Bart's brain first for just a couple minutes and kind of get some insights again from, as a manufacturer, what's going on. I will give you a little bit of a background on Daniel Defense, and specifically the reason we wanted to get Bart on early is, when we saw this coming down the path about 2 months ago, I reached out to my team and I told them, I said, hey guys, what would happen if, that stuff, that coronavirus that nobody even heard of hops the pond and comes over here and impacts us? How would that impact us as an organization? And what could we do? And of course they thought I was insane, but we're going to just play the exercise anyway. And we started talking about different things we could do. And I said, well, I think we ought to just interview some manufacturers, some of our buddies in the space, to find out, how they're prepping for it. And I will let you know that Daniel Defense stepped up to the table. Cindy and Marty Daniels talked to them, and they said, Bart's your guy. He's kind of leading the charge in this program. I did the first interview of this whole series with Bart. It seems like a year ago. It hadn't been a year, just a couple of weeks. Been the longest year in my life. But if you want to hear that interview, it's really interesting to see kind of how it progresses. And actually, Bart has hopped in on a couple other calls with us as well to kind of give us an update. And that's sort of the game plan for today. Daniel Defense is very proactive and taking steps and preparing their business for this possibility, and now the possibility has come to pass, and we're dealing with the results. And so Bart, I got you teed up there. What I'd like to do is again kind of pick your brain on what we talked about a lot of the plans that were going on that you guys are putting together. Share with us some of the things that really worked well, and maybe some of the things that have changed in the process. And where you guys stand right now. I know that Savannah's right now. Are you guys on a shelter in place? So give us a little bit of update on what's going on with your space. Yeah, and what Daniel Defense is, if folks don't know. So let's start that with a foundation.
Sure. Thanks for the kind introduction, Jason, and good morning to everyone. So Daniel Defense, if you don't know, we've got about 225 employees roughly. We're located in Black Creek, Georgia. We're a firearms manufacturer. We supply some portion of our business to the military and the defense companies, and the other portion of it is just through the commercial business. So, like a lot of the companies, we've been spending probably about, at least from an HR perspective, probably 80-90% of our time dealing with putting in plans in place and initiatives related to COVID and seeing if we can get out in front of it. Jason mentioned kind of what's working. I think what is working is we're doing a lot in the way of hygiene and training, and we just took the opportunity to, I think probably 2 weeks ago, to any door in the facility, we basically opened those doors, with the exception of the entry and exit into the plant, but all other doors that we've got in the facility of going into different offices and different parts of the building, we've just opened those that's another avenue where people don't have to, latch on to a door with their hand. We've put wet wipes and whatnot at each of the facility's entrance, as well as any door in the facility has a wet wipe, Clorox wipe type, to where we're training people to take the wipe, grab the handle, open the door if it's not already open, wash their hands, drop it off in the trash can. Doing a lot of training in terms of social distancing. I think I said last time we've pretty much canceled any meetings, any activities, any employee initiatives that has a tendency to group employees together. We're experiencing right now about 18 to 20% absenteeism.
Okay.
I think that's sneaking up on us, because that was probably 3 weeks ago that number was 10%. So it's almost doubled in the last 3 weeks. And those are not necessarily COVID related. We don't, knock on wood, we do not have a COVID related case as of yet. We do have a number of folks out that really fit into what I would call 4 or 5 categories. One is they're out just for cold, sinus, congestion type symptoms. We've got a few out that falls into that category of high risk because of either age and or coupled with some serious health conditions. We do have 2 or 3 folks that's out with flu-like symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So all those combined is we've got, and the others probably relate to folks that are caring for children that their schools closed.
Right.
So that makes up about 18 to 20% of our population.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing that we're struggling with right now, just how to manage, is we have had a couple of cases where individuals have experienced, for lack of a better term, we'll say a flu-like, COVID-like symptoms. We have taken a very conservative approach of getting those folks out. We have, I think, come up with a fairly good protocol in terms of, okay, if we have a person that has flu-like, COVID-like symptoms, and they're at work, but it's not a positive COVID, what all are the actions that we do in terms of removing that employee, communications to other employees, cleaning that needs to be done, et cetera. So we've got about 5 or 6 different scenarios that we've outlined that relates to, communications to that employee, to communication to other affected employees, cleaning services, et cetera. So we feel pretty good about that. But what's still kind of a little bit vague in our mind is if you send an employee out and that person later gets COVID testing, COVID tested, there's a lapse of time that's already went by. They get COVID tested. There's going to be at a minimum of 5 days, and probably more like 5 to 10 days before that test results in.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the look back in terms of what do you do in the event that if in fact that person comes up to be positive, there very well could have been 2 weeks go by since that person's been in the plant. Right. And so I don't know if other people's, experiencing that or has experienced it, but I think I think it's very likely that we're going to be faced with that, and, it's going to be some discretionary decision making on our part of, what that looks like.
There's only so much you can do. Yeah.
So anyway, that's probably kind of one of the more vague ones in our mind. The one thing that we're starting, we ordered probably about a month ago. We ordered about 8 thermometers, the laser thermometers where you can just kind of basically point and shoot.
Right.
We've had those order for about a month now. They're held up in customs in New York. So we're trying to get those, but as soon as they get in, we're going to start testing everyone's temperature. Anybody that gains access to the facility every day, we'll start testing their temperature. And we hope that starts, end of this week, first part of next week.
Yep.
As another measure. And then I guess the last thing I would say is we have contracted with 2 outside firms that we've brought in. Again, these have been kind of precautionary measures on our part to bring in the event that we've even had a smell of anything that where we thought an employee may have been infected. We brought in an outside facility to do disinfectant and cleaning. I would encourage you guys to do your homework because it is extremely expensive, and we learned the hard way. There's probably some of that we could have done on our part internally. Some of the kind of, I'll say, the ancillary external kind of cleaning, and we've since had that company to come in and train some of our employees to do some of the, we'll say, lighter lifting.
Right.
Because if you don't, you're going to get stuck with a huge bill. And I don't know if I'm just not equipped enough or smart enough to know what these type cleaning services, is that their, charge all the time, or is it just this period of time?
Right.
So anyway, you may want to kind of take a look at that. And then I guess as a result of that, we've contracted with this outside firm, and we've got a couple of fans. They make these fans that you can put in high volume traffic areas where there's some type of infrared system within the fan that circulates air and kills bacteria. So we've got a couple of those set out through the plant as well, as just another means of trying to keep the facility clean.
I gotcha. Well, are you guys, as far as shutdowns in the area, I mean, are you guys seeing the schools, or I know Savannah, y'all guys hadn't got a big concentration of COVID cases there now. I know you got a few, but what does it look like as far as schools? I know you guys are just sort of outside of the Savannah area proper in Black Creek. So what does it look like? Has there been any local shutdowns or shelter in place?
Sure. Yeah. So they've got all the schools are closed.
Yeah, that's right.
All public and private.
Yeah.
They're closed. I think most of them are closed until really about the end of the month, toward the end of the month anyway. Savannah does have a shelter in place. We were notified, I guess, about 3 weeks ago, I guess, that by Homeland Security that we are considered essential business.
Right.
So we're continuing to operate.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll, kind of play it by ear, I guess, there.
Well, with that, how are you working as far as employees? Do you have a letter authorizing travel for essential business? Is that, and do your have y'all issued that to your employees? Did that come from you? Did y'all develop it, or did you get a sample from somewhere?
We've got in terms of essential business.
Correct.
Yeah, we basically took some excerpts out of some information that we did get from Homeland Security and basically posted and communicated that to the employees and kind of took the verbiage out of that communication. Mm-hmm. And we just met with all employees yesterday, and from our perspective, we're saying that we are considered essential business, and trying to help our employees understand that's a good thing, and we feel fortunate that we're in that position, because unfortunately there's a lot of folks that either can't work or shutting down. It's causing a lot of unemployment.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do they have to have the have you issued letters for your employees for travel back and forth to work? Is that something that you guys have done yet?
No, it's my understanding is as long as we've got name badges with our company logo. So in order to access the facility, so as long as they've got those with them, that they can show that they're a Daniels Defense employee. We just told them to keep those with them, and they should be okay. Is our understanding.
Okay, perfect. Because I had somebody actually in a call about a week ago They shared some information. We're going to kind of dial that in because some companies do require they're providing letters for their employees, and we're going to try to have that up actually on the show notes on this call and on the previous one. So I tell you, Bart, this has been really, really helpful. I really appreciate your insight and input on this. And I know you got another call or two you may have to slip off to, and if we see you disappear, we know that that's where you went. But is there any other things you'd like to share with the crew on, from an HR perspective that you found helpful or most surprising, I guess, during this process?
I don't think nothing else comes to mind. I don't think. I'm sure there is. I'm just forgetting. But I appreciate you. Appreciate the invite and appreciate you letting me share.
Yeah, well, it's been very, very helpful. We'll look forward to coming down and visiting soon. As soon as we get it all clear, brother, you can count on that. And y'all keep doing what you're doing. You're making a huge difference.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks much, Bart. All right, perfect. All right, now we're going to transition over to Mr. Raymer Sale. And again, Raymer, I'm gonna let him kind of other than being a great friend and partner of GMA, I'm gonna let him sort of introduce himself, tell a little bit about what E2E does, and then give us some insights on some of the research that he's been doing, not just for his clients, but especially for us, because he did this especially for us, is what he says always. So take it away, Raymer.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the opportunity. My name is Raymer Sale. I am the president and CEO of E2E Benefit Services and E2E Resources. We're located in Gwinnett County, and we're under a stay-at-home advisory from our county. So everybody in my company is working remotely. There are 9 of us, and we are staying in contact with one another at all times. And through all kinds of telephone, text, and all that sort of thing, like everybody else does. We've been around for 27 years. Our focus is on employee benefits, and we have been inundated with webinars, rules, regulations, laws, directives that impact HR, impact payroll, and impact the insurance and how the carriers are handling things. I want to start with, if I can, 2 things. I'm going to start with, if you will access our website, which is the letter E, the number 2, the letter E, resources, resources.com. On that website, there's a place over on the right-hand side that's got a place for your name and email address and that sort of thing. You can send us questions. So if you have questions about anything we talk about today, just go ahead and send that email or access that and send it to us. And right above that, there is also a tab called COVID-19, where we have posted a lot of stuff about insurance carriers, what the insurance carriers are doing, and miscellaneous information about COVID-19. So you can have access to our resources. We're posting them there on a regular basis. The next thing I want to cover is, did I go away?
No, I'm gonna flip it over so you can see. Hopefully, you should be able to see resources. I'm gonna just share the screen.
Oh, okay, that's good.
How about that?
Yeah, that's good. So now you see
there was a handsome guy on that homepage, but I still looking for him. Apparently it must be blurred out back there.
You look on the right-hand side, just to right in his first, you see where it says quick comment.
Yep.
What is it? It's quick contact. That's where you put your information in, and you can see a place for a message down there. That comes straight to my desk. It's not, it is also used as a marketing tool, but that's not the intent. The intent is just to get you to ask questions, and then we will respond to them. And there is the COVID-19 information. If you scroll on down on that, Jason, you'll see that it goes from the CDC to Humana and Blue Cross Blue Shield and all of the carriers and what they're doing. And if you don't see some things that you're interested in, let me know. And while you're doing that, I'll just tell you that during the press conference on Saturday, the president announced that Humana and Cigna have waived all copays, coinsurance, deductibles for those that are being treated for COVID-19. So the other carriers have not followed suit on that yet. That would be something that they will have to determine, but all of the carriers have waived copays and telemedicine copays. And you're encouraged to use telemedicine if you've never done it. It is a really good tool to stay out of the doctor's office, which I refer to, or think of as a petri dish, that you can always walk in there and pick up something. But in line with the insurance information, the insurance commissioner issued a directive on March the 20th, and I'd like to read the article, or the one piece that refers to insurance, or the part that you'll be interested in. There are 6 points in this directive, but the one that is the one that I found most interesting, that deals specifically with group insurance or health insurance, it says, number 2 is, likewise, the commissioner directs all health insurers to refrain from canceling health policies for the cause of non-payment until further notice. People affected by the COVID-19 pandemic must have access to health care during this time. So when I first read that, I thought that the intent was to aim toward individual health policies, simply because of some of the wording. And during a deeper investigation, we found out that it does apply to all. Some of the carriers are providing provisions for employers to defer premiums, have longer payment periods. You have a 30-day period to pay your premium. They are extending that to 60 days. And so my suggestion is check with your carrier, or give us a call. We'll check with it, give you what we have on it. Just they're trying to make it as easy as possible. And the main thing is nobody that has insurance is going to go without it. Blue Cross, for example, started a policy last week that if you waived your opportunity to enroll in health insurance during open enrollment, during a qualifying event, or during your initial eligibility period, if you waive that, you can now have an open enrollment period that goes through April 3rd with premium coverage effective April 1st. So for people that have decided not to take coverage, it's a good opportunity for them to jump on that.
So they got 3 days to get a policy in place?
Yep. This went into effect on, I think it was March 23rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere in that time period. So they've still got 3 days to jump in there and get that taken care of. Now, if you are currently in your waiting period for eligibility, that doesn't count for you. You would have had to have gone through your waiting period. You would have had to have waived coverage or ignored the offer, and now you can jump in at that time. So if you are in a waiting period, you have to complete that. The insurance companies are doing everything they can to make this happen between the federal laws and the state laws and those sorts of things that are being put in place. We'll get through this, and there may be a little bump in the road. I expect that there are plenty of people, I've got clients that are shut down and that are unemployed for the moment, but it's my anticipation that this will come roaring back. They're not canceling coverage, they're just laying off employees. And so if I can transition into that, the state issued the emergency change to the Georgia unemployment in response to COVID-19. There are new rules and regulations that apply. They're in place for till the end of the year. If you are laying people off, if you are furloughing people, or if you are terminating people, there's an opportunity for them to jump on an unemployment, either partial unemployment or full unemployment. And the employer has the responsibility to initiate that. And I'm not going into great detail because I'm not an expert on this, and I am just getting people to provide summaries and insight into it. But it's something that if you're laying people off or furloughing. Now, there is a difference between laying someone off and furloughing. In the furloughing category, you can continue benefits, you can cease pay, and the furlough is one of those things that kind of sends a message that you have the opportunity to come back to work just as soon as the furlough is over. In some of the reports that I've read, furloughs go up to 12 months. They can be 30 days, 90 days, a week, 2 weeks. It pretty much runs the gamut. Along those lines, the insurance carriers have relaxed their minimum participation requirements. Carriers require that you provide at least half of the eligible people must be participants. Some carriers require that half of the population, regardless of whether they have legitimate waivers or not, must participate. And so the insurance industry is well aware of the fact that employers are laying people off in order to survive. Macy's laid off 130,000 yesterday, I believe it was. And so, they didn't lay them off, they furloughed them. And so if you use the furlough, then that's optimistic that the employee is going to get their job back. And so
Raymond, real quick on the furlough and temporary unemployment. I mean, again, I'm a rookie in this HR world, so help me out on that. So we kind of read through that unemployment directive from the state, and basically, from what I could understand is as long as you have not laid your employees off, they're eligible for a temporary unemployment benefit for a certain period of time. Is temporary unemployment and furlough, are you using that interchangeably? Is that the same thing, or is there something different?
It doesn't matter whether they're furloughed or laid off. They still have access to temporary unemployment according to the rules. The state the unemployment rate is $365 plus the state piled on another $50, which it can be up to $410 it also comes into play if you reduce their hourly wage, or if you reduce their number of hours worked. If you got somebody that's working 40 hours a week, which is considered full time, and you cut them to 30 hours a week, then they still qualify for this temporary unemployment. Lots of rules and regulations are about it. They've tried to simplify it, but the main thing is that if you are doing this, then you need to initiate the unemployment for that employee. We have two other rules: the Families First, which is a federal rule, and then the CARES Act, which was signed by the president last Friday or Saturday. The Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act is under the Families First. You have, and I'm just going to read the numbers here. Leave is available under the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act. Leave is available when the employee is subject to a government quarantine or isolation order, when the employee has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to COVID-19, when the employee is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, when the employee is caring for an individual, not just a family member who is subject to quarantine order, when the employee is caring for a child because the school and child care place has been closed. Now, for items 1, 2, and 3, and that's for somebody that's under quarantine or has COVID-19 or has the coronavirus, they're subject to full pay, and for those that are caring for an individual, they're subject to 2/3 pay, and there's some other rules and regulations that go into that.
Now, which regulation again was that, Raymer? I want to make sure we get that, because there's three different things we're talking about. One is unemployment, one is the CARES Act, and this one is?
This is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Okay.
And that, what I'm just reading to you, is the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, EPSL.
Okay.
Inside of that, there are several rules and regulations that an employer needs to be aware of, so that you're not, and this, by the way, according to the document I'm reading, it says it comes effective April 2nd, but it actually was changed. This becomes effective tomorrow.
Okay.
April 1st. And it says unless the Labor Department issues a new rule, and they did. So I just want to make you aware of the fact that it exists, and encourage you to, if you've got people that they're laying off, or got people that fall under those rules and regulations, that you know how to handle them. Mm-hmm. I have 2 employees in my company that have children in daycare. Daycare shut down 2 weeks ago, and they've been working remotely. They don't apply to this because none of them have any illness. They do have children staying at home, but they're under full pay. The employees are getting full pay and are working the company hours, which are from 8:30 until 5 on a daily basis. And so that they're not coming under that. But if they should, then I would take care of somebody comes down with coronavirus. If one of their kids come down with it, then of course we would also be exposed to this. The other piece, and there are some other things that have to deal with 10 days leave of if you have a 10 days extra PTO for people that are subject to the coronavirus or are taking care of children. I'm going to hold up a piece of paper that I don't have it stored on the site, and I didn't give it to Jason, but if you can see this, this is backwards to you, I guess. This is the employer's right to paid sick leave and expanded family and medical leave. It's available to you through the Wage and Hour Division of the United States Department. It is supposed to be posted in the place of employment, and in it has qualifying reasons for leave for COVID-19. One of the things that's on here that is important is number 5 in this box that's at the bottom of it. It says qualifying reason for leave related to COVID-19 is caring for his or her child whose school or place of care is closed or child care provider is unavailable due to COVID-19 related reasons. And so you can see where if somebody is going home to take care of children or somebody else that has an illness, they have the right to this emergency leave. If you do not have this poster, if you will, I'll make it available. I'll scan it over to Jason, and Jason.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes for sure on this call.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm a novice at this, and as soon as you tell me how, you notice I bent my head down. I was scared to death of Blair and Bonnie. Everybody.
Cool.
The last piece. Oh, I want to cover something for you right now. In Gwinnett County, we are under a stay-at-home rule. We are not shelter in place.
Shelter in place, correct.
There's a difference in that. And so if you have a copy of the rule and regulation, you can see if you're an essential business or can go back and forth to businesses. My company is not operating on the site, although we do have people that are going by one at a time to pick up supplies or pick up files or pay the bills. But we are considered essential. It's minimum essential because we do employee benefits, and then through our HR, we process payroll for some of our clients.
Payroll's pretty essential for most folks.
Yeah, no kidding. And so, that's right. If you don't think we're essential, you may want to call some of our clients and try it out.
It'd take a couple of weeks off of that and see how it turns out for you.
All right, the last thing that I want to touch base on, and seems to be the one that I've thrown somewhere else, is the CARES Act. The CARES Act applies to businesses that are 1 to 500 employees. And basically what it is Family Medical Leave Act that has been pushed down. Family Medical Leave normally applies to employers with 50 or more employees, but for the small employers, it's pushing it down all the way to that. Now, the thing that you, in addition to the family medical leave piece of it, what you need to know is there's a loan piece in there so that you can go to an SBA bank and borrow money to cover your expenses, payroll expenses, benefits expenses, and other things like that. And if up to a certain amount, it is forgivable. Above certain amounts, it's non-forgivable, but you have a long period of time to pay it out. And then the other thing is that if you participate in this, in that loan portion, people that may earn greater than $100,000 you're not allowed to keep their pay in there. And then for if you are in the upper brackets and you really got some high income CEOs or something like that, then you are bound not to give pay raises to those people, bonuses to those people for 12 months following the end of the period for this CARES Act. tax on there's some tax forgiveness for employer matching, FICA tax, or that's important. And so if you got questions on this, this is mostly a Family Medical Leave Act. It also has some payroll information in it. There's a payroll act piece in it, and that's what we're covering with the loan provisions and those sorts of things. Now, Jason, I see that there are two people that got some in the chat box. Is that something I'm supposed to look at?
No, I got that. Yeah. So Henry Henry put a note in for us. Thanks, Henry, for sharing that. Emory put online a COVID pre-check process, and there's an article in the AJC. We'll put a link to that here shortly. And then also what we do is we link back to your site, Raymer, e2eresources.com. So those are in the group chat. So Raymer, you did a fantastic job. You did it just like I trained you, just like I coached you all the way through this. You know, could have done it better myself. Well, we'll see, you know, but seriously, really appreciate you stepping up and filling in the gap for us on this information. We know that this information is, you know, I mean, it's fluid. We're learning every day what works and what doesn't work. And as these regulations are put into place, some of them are changing, you know, on a daily basis. So, so appreciate you getting us up to speed on that. We do want to make sure there's a couple things that we want to make sure that we cover. Any of the documentation, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of research. I'm going to get Raymer to send me whatever he's got. We'll put it in the show notes. So what we're going to do, just give you a next step, is after this wraps up, it takes about 15 minutes for the video to post. We'll put it out on our webpage under the Manufacturing News Network. If you just click on Manufacturing News Network down at the bottom, all the interviews and all the town halls and as well as the roundtables that we've done are archived out there, so you can go back and listen through them. If you're on the line and maybe you want your HR person to hear this, all you got to do is just send them a link to it. They can go check it out. But it's going to take us probably about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes to get this posted and updated. But that's why we're recording each one of these things, so that you can share this information throughout your team. In the show notes and down at the bottom, just under the video, we're going to put links to all the information that was talked about today and the documentation that we can find to make sure that you have access to that as well. If there are things that you think that that maybe we didn't cover that you think would be beneficial, hey, shoot that to us in an email and we'll see if we can include it in, either in that or in maybe some of the other resources tabs. We did get a note here. Let me see. If you're laid off and collecting money through these provisions, can the worker still pick up 1099 contract work, or would that make them ineligible for unemployment and the special pay? Do you know or know where we're at on that, Raymer, by chance?
The information that we received, and it was a similar question like yesterday when I was listening to some attorneys over at Arnell, Golden, and Gregory. And that question kind of went down, can you include 1099 employers? The general rule, as I understand it, is that if you're receiving unemployment and you are getting other gainful income, it's going to offset. Whether it would disqualify you or not, that's going to be between the Department of Labor. But if you're earning 1099 income and reporting it, then I would expect it's going to offset. Or if it's greater than what you were making, then it will disqualify.
Okay, perfect. That's a great question. Thanks for that answer. And we'll dig into that. But I've heard that there's some qualifications that they're trying to raise that. That I think the number I heard was $600. Is you can get up to $600, 1099 offset, and it not impact unemployment. But we'll firm that number up and make sure that we get you the data on that as we wrap this up. You know, and we'll include that in the show notes as we.
The federal government kicked in $600 of unemployment to be placed on top of state unemployment as part of the CARES Act.
Okay.
And so that means that in the state of Georgia, $1,015 a week, if that's what you qualified for. They're right now letting the states process it, but the federal government wants to take over processing because they say that some of the states are ill prepared to do that, and they are prepared to do it. So,
okay, so the federal government's going to take over the processing of the unemployment from the state. Is that what?
It's not right now. It's at the state level. In the press conference that President Trump had over the weekend, he mentioned that some of the states were ill prepared to handle it because they had antiquated systems, and
Okay.
he noticed somebody had a 45-year-old technology that they were trying to manage this with. He said, but the federal government has the technology, and so they're going to leave it at the state level for right now. But he said that they could take it over.
Okay.
If it was, I guess if it was necessary is a better word to put on the end of that.
Okay, perfect. So right now, let's just say somebody qualifies in Georgia at $200. The state, I mean, the federal has tacked on another $600, so they would get a total check of $800 if they're qualifying for two. No matter what level they qualify, as long as they're qualifying for state, they're going to tack on an additional $600 from the federal for the foreseeable future. Or is there a time certain on that?
There's a time limit. I think it ends December 31, but you're not going to be allowed to earn more money through unemployment than you're currently making. But
Okay.
you can equal up to what you're currently making.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. And qualification, I don't know if this is a question or a comment. Oh, yes, a question. Qualification for the CARES Act is based off of the 2018 tax return. Is that correct?
I think it said 2019, but let me take a look here if I can see it real quick.
I assume it had to be 18, Bramer, just because we haven't filed 19 and it got extended to July, correct?
Well, that you may be right on that. I'm not disputing, but here we go. It says businesses that receive, this is talking about loans, under the provision will be required to agree to certain caps and in the 2000 based on 2019 calendar year. But that's under the loan provision. I'm not going to keep a lot of blank space going here, but we'll have to research that. If you can shoot me a question, I'll find the answer.
Okay. Very cool. All right. What other questions do we have? And if you're, again, I'm going to do a little quick training on this. If you're not super familiar with how to use Zoom, if you're kind of maybe some of the first time you've been on, if you want to ask a question, you need to unmute your microphone. If you kind of take your mouse down towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little menu pop up. There's a microphone in the far left corner. If it's got a red stripe to it, that means you're muted. You can click that red stripe, and that should open your mic up, and feel free to ask a question. Who's got the first question? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, sounds like we're pretty close.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Sure.
So Brad and Raymer have done an outstanding job of providing information in a way that's easily understandable. And I think when you put that on the website, all of us should be trying to get that in front of all the HR managers we can and other business owners. So I think this has been a terrific session. I want to thank those guys for all the hard work they did in providing the information. And you too, Jason.
Yep, I appreciate that for sure. And yeah, I mean, you guys, you commit your time. We're going to pull through this together, and appreciate the kind comments, Henry. I mean, because this is what we're going to try to do as an association. Again, our organization, our mission hadn't changed. Our tools have. We're not meeting face to face, but we're committed to give you guys and help support the manufacturing community across the state of Georgia and do whatever we can do and provide the information that's available to us, on a timely manner. And it takes time, though. I mean, there's no shortcut to this. And, stealing an hour away from Bart and from Raymer is, I mean, that's a big deal, and that's a big commitment of their time. And for you guys, what can help and really make this be more beneficial to the community as a whole is when we get through with this. Again, we're gonna take the event image from the call today. Matter of fact, I may take another picture of it just for fun. We may use either the waving picture or the event image. I can't promise either one. But what we're going to do is we're going to post this on LinkedIn about we had a great call today, good information shared. We'd encourage you guys to sit in on these calls. And then what we want you to do is we would like you to share your favorite part about today. So everybody smile and wave. So hold on a second. Smile. Everybody wave. All right, smile and wave. All right, it looks like I'm waving, but I'm holding the camera. All right, so but we've done really good with time. And what I want to do is just kind of circle around just real quick And I'd like to hear what y'all's favorite part about this so far, this series. How can we be of better service to you in the business and the manufacturing community? So Dan, if you don't mind, I'll start off with you. Go ahead and unmute your line. I'll unmute you there. Stand by. Okay, Dan, what was your favorite part about the call so far, and or any of the series that we've done so far? What's your takeaway?
I really love listening to Raymer today. That was extremely informative. Just all outs around the labor laws and the tax stuff is really great to hear, and I think that needs to get out the community a little bit more. So thanks a lot for that, Raymer. Much appreciated.
Fantastic.
Very kind. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch. All right, Mr. Peter.
I echo those same sentiments. These have been very informative to me, and appreciate everybody's time and learning a little bit more about this, how it can apply to our business, but then how we can share some of the things we've learned from this with other colleagues. So no, I think it's been real beneficial.
Fantastic. Thanks a bunch. All right. Okay, stand by. Michelle, are you clicking unmute there? Okay, you got it.
I got it. Well, yes, I have a lot of same information, coming in that Raymer covered, but he actually helped me to know that I did understand it correctly. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have.
Right.
So, it's just nice, and hopefully I'll meet him in person one day, because I hear wonderful things about him all the time. So
yeah.
We will. Look forward to that day.
No doubt. Thanks, Michelle. All right, Mr. Carter.
Oh, and Keith is awesome, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Keith, he's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Perfect.
All right. Yeah, no, I really appreciate these sessions. I mean, this is, unprecedented times. Situations are changing daily. So it's almost like you need a weekly or daily catch up just to figure out, what everybody's doing. And so it's good information. Definitely the understanding the Care Act and all that. Those are big pieces of legislation, and I'm sure there's lots of pages in there. So getting the kind of the rundown of it is very helpful.
Perfect. We're going to post the Cliff Notes and the full version probably, so you can read as much as you'd like. I run on the Cliff Notes mostly. So, all right, Carla, can you hear us okay? If you'd like to join us, you're welcome to unmute your line. It looks like you're on the phone, so I don't know how to tell you to unmute. You feel free to join us if you can. All right, Mr. Bryan.
Well, I think this day, or this, roundtable has shown me that it's important for C-suite leaders to pay extra attention to their HR partners. Mm-hmm. C-suite leaders don't always have the bandwidth to watch every, I suppose, executive silo, and this HR silo is something that it's just bringing more value, I think, than other times, and it's something to pay attention to. So thanks to all you for sharing your updates.
Perfect. Thanks a bunch. All right, Mr. Bart.
I'm continuing on the Raymer side. Enjoyed the conversation. I'm in HR, so I'm dealing with it. A lot of the new acts and legislation that's being passed down on a daily basis. But really appreciate his summaries, and I had some takeaways from that. So really appreciate that sharing of information. And Jason, I really appreciate your coordination of getting the thoughts and inputs and guest speakers, and it's helpful because I think everybody in each of our companies wants to kind of understand how we're what are we doing in comparison to other companies and industries and sectors. So there's always something that we're not thinking of, and your ability to kind of get everybody rounded up and summarize and get that out to everyone is much appreciated.
Perfect. I appreciate that for sure. And on that, we're going to catch a couple other folks, but on that, I do want to give you just a programming note. When we first kicked these things off, we had it set up so that it was a subscription based. We have canceled any of the subscriptions. These calls we've made them open to anybody in the manufacturing space that's interested in learning and staying up to date. We've got some folks on the line that are not even manufacturers, but they're business owners, and they're finding value in these, and they're sharing these calls throughout. It's really neat to see how many views we get on the videos after they go live, depending on the share rate. But these, we're doing whatever we can to continue to support the space, and hopefully these tools are making a difference. And Henry, did you have anything else you'd like to add real quick?
Well, I'm looking forward to sharing the video. And again, as everybody said, I think it was an outstanding session today. And I look forward to more of these to help keep up with what's going on and pass on the information. Oh, by the way, as I've told folks before, I connect the dots. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody needs a right arm to call folks or find out things like Raymer, I'm available. So just let me know how I can help.
Sounds good. Well, we're also later this week. We've got 2 more calls scheduled. So Wednesday we're going to do one on legal. Our friends over at Taylor English Duma are going to give us some insights. We've really got a stacked deck on that. We've got several attorneys that will be talking about different parts of the business and the legal aspects. And then on Thursday we're doing a finance call. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we're going to be doing roundtables like this. Specific to specific division in the company. And then on Friday at 4:00, we're going to be doing the Fun Fridays. Those are always fun. We got one archived if you want to go check it out. But I want to reach out to our team. Heather, what was your favorite part about the call today?
I'm going to have to go with everybody else. Raymer's HR info. That's really informative. And Raymer and Henry are like 2 of my favorite boys there. So good job.
Love it. I love it. All right, Miss Brittany.
Hey. So I love Raymer, obviously, but Freeman, it was nice to hear his insight, telling us about how they're handling everything over there. I've always enjoyed, since we've been doing these calls, how other manufacturers are handling everything. And so it was just nice to hear that you guys are taking the right measures. And it's just nice to hear that, you're taking care of your employees in the right way. Yeah. So I enjoyed that. Yeah. Be a little bit off the charts here.
One of my takeaways on that is leaving the doors open. I mean, it's something as simple as that, guys. I mean, that's the first time I've heard that. It's freaking genius, right? Yeah. Just one less touch point. I love it. So we will be sharing that a lot. All right, Mr. Sale.
Listen.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to add one thing. I was in a webinar with some attorneys yesterday, and they were talking about part of the CARES Act, and they said, we don't even have any clarification on how it works. So as this thing unfolds, all 3 of these bills, anything else, if you'll go onto that website and ask the question, I've got people that would do research on this thing, and we can get answers back to you as needed. So whatever pops in your mind, it's as good for us as it is for you, because we don't see everything that's coming through. So if you've got something that applies to you, ask the question. We'll get the research done and we'll respond back to you.
Perfect. That sounds great. And we're going to use this again as a resource. And Raymer, really appreciate you stepping up to the table to provide this information and access to it. We'll put a bunch of information on the show notes. Again, I've kind of told you what the balance of the call is for this week. On Mondays, we're going to be doing a town hall at 10 and a 2:00 task force. So if you have capabilities, capacities, or materials that could be used in this battle against the coronavirus, the state of Georgia has worked with the Economic Development Department, using them as kind of the go-to people to build a list of the resources that are available. But we're doing this in parallel to what they're doing. We're finding that businesses tend to crazy as it sounds, reach out to us a little quicker than they're reaching out to the state. So we're kind of bridging that gap. So we have a form on our webpage as well. Again, the Georgia manufacturingtaskforce.com takes you right to the page. If you've got anything that you'd like to share, capabilities or capacities that you think would be beneficial in this fight. We're going to gather that information. We're going to get it to the right people. We're going to make sure that we ride herd to make sure that, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. When manufacturers call me and say, hey, we want to help, by jingo, we're going to figure out a way that they can help. We're not going to let it get parked. So we're very aggressive in making sure that we make those connections. And the state is doing everything that they can, guys. I want you to make sure, we got to work together on this, and we got to give grace where we can give grace. And we need to make sure that we support our local leaders and our national leaders. May or may not politically may not align with everything that's going on, but I promise you, these folks are doing everything that they can. We need to keep them in our prayers and love on them. And again, extend as much grace as we can with them, and then support them in any way that we can. We will get through this together, but we need to work together and pull on the same rope at the same time, and we can make this thing happen. And we're here for you. If you just need to give us a call and chat, hey, that's what we're here for. I know us extroverts, this is really tough, not being out there in this stuff. So we're gonna make through that too. But again, I want to thank each one of you guys for being a part of the day, part of our community, part of our family. And we're looking forward to continuing this, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next call. Been another great day at GMA. We'll see you at the next event. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.